Welcome to Pera's Playbook. This is your host, Alex Pera. Let's open up our playbook and see who our guest is. Please enjoy. Welcome to episode 147 of Pera's Playbook. Today we're joined by McGlone. He's an actor, most known for Brothers McMullen, She's the One, a bone collector. He's been in many other films and TV shows. He's also a musician. So we're going to talk all about his career and some of his projects and some various things. But Michael, I appreciate you hopping on. How are you?
I'm well, sir. Thanks for spending the time.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to talking. I know we've been planning this for a little while, so it's always nice to actually get to talk to somebody when you've been planning it for weeks.
Sure.
So I would, I always do a little bit of research for every episode. Digging in, looking for information on all the topics. And when I was recently doing the research for Brothers McMullen, I saw some recent interviews that Ed Burns had done on the Today Show talking about the new sequel that
That's
will be
correct.
coming out.
We're going to be shooting in April. We're very excited about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's kind of start there. I know that was one of your first, big roles that you got, and at the time, Ed was not a well-known filmmaker like he is today. I watched a little documentary. He had a low budget to work with. He his casting call was a little more unique than some others. So I guess let's start with how you got on that picture and got your role.
Well, I'll tell you, I saw an ad in Backstage, the most substantial actors trades at that time in New York City, for a film that was called then The McMullen Brothers. He later changed the title to The Brothers McMullen, though I saw that it was about three Irish American brothers. And I come from three Irish American brothers, the youngest of which is Patrick. And the youngest of these three Irish American brothers was also Patrick. But at the time that I saw the ad, that wasn't the role that I thought was for me. I was writing my first book at the time, my first novel. And so the middle brother, who was the screenwriter, was the role that I thought was for me. And Eddie listed all three brothers in the casting call, not mentioning the fact that he was intending to play the middle brother. So I submitted a headshot fully expecting that I would get a call for the middle brother. But as it turned out, it was the youngest brother that I read for, and then had a call back and got the movie. And we shot it over the course of about 9 months in 1993, I think it was. And then we went to Sundance in 95 and won the festival, the Grand Jury Prize. And it created a career for a number of us in the film.
The original budget for the film was rather low, right? $25,000.
Somewhere around 25. I've also read 28, though the number that I was familiar with was 25,000. Essentially, his father, Eddie's father, gave him what amounted to the sum total of his savings at the time, or very near the sum total of his savings at the time, and said, go make your film. A fantastically loving and generous thing for a father to do. And as it turns out, it's paid him back and then some.
Yeah. I mean, the film grossed over 19 million worldwide. I mean, back in 93, if we did the math to what that is today, that's a very successful film. I think the plot too, it's relatable to many people. Obviously people like watching stuff that's not real, superheroes and science fiction and all that stuff, but it's also nice to watch TV shows and movies that have relatable plots and kind of some of those coming of age type films about growing up and the hardships and I think being myself growing up Catholic and kind of some of those ideas that you can relate with, that really draws people in, and they want to see those types of pictures and TV shows.
It certainly was true for us. We're all very fortunate to say, and Eddie does a particularly good job of expressing such things as you just mentioned in a way that's not only relatable, but humorous. So you're approaching the audience from two different necessary vantage points. One is that they can recognize this reality, and the other is they can laugh at it. People love to laugh at their lives, especially if those lives are sometimes intruded upon by things like guilt and other stresses relationship wise, which in the film you see Eddie does a masterful job at showing you these very serious situations, but with the adeptness of comedic writing. And it was a joy to be a part of. It's a fabulous blessing in my life to have started my career with a film that was that successful. And frankly, that relatable also to me, because as I told you before, I come from Three Irish American Brothers, and here's this film about Three Irish American Brothers, which turns out to be my first film. And
Yeah,
it's a blessing, and I've been extraordinarily grateful for it.
I think your character in the movie, is there a scene where you've got some line, maybe I think you're in bed with a girl or something, and you say something about kind of how you're gonna go to hell, or something like along those
That's
lines.
not
And
that's not when he's in bed with a girl. That's when he's come out of the church,
oh
and
yeah,
he
yeah,
feels at this time he's not aware of exactly how a certain situation is going to play out, and that situation is his girlfriend's pregnancy.
yeah,
And he's relatively convinced, though, that she is going to end the pregnancy. And he feels that that is going to imperil his chances of getting into heaven. So he comes out
right.
of the church, and there's this wonderful scene that Eddie wrote where he comes out, he comes out of the church and he stands there, and then you just hear a voiceover saying, "I'm going to hell." And as I say before, Eddie did such a masterful job of expressing something serious with great humor, because anyone who's raised Catholic is aware of the panic that a Catholic can have about eternal condemnation, and how heavy a concept that is. And at the same time, it's delivered to the audience the way Eddie wrote it, in such a way as everyone's laughing about it. Everyone's having a light heart about this very serious, because he's not kidding. Patrick
Right.
McMullen is not kidding when he says that. And yet the audience is reveling in it in this way that is very relief oriented and marvelous. And that's to do with Eddie's magnificent gift as a writer.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, you're spot on with the way you can deliver that. And anyone. I mean, like I said, I grew up Catholic, so you have those as especially as a teenager, right? There's so
Oh
much
yeah,
going
it's
on as a
murder.
Catholic teenager. You see what your buddies are doing and whatever it is, and whether you do it or you feel like you shouldn't do it. I mean, you have those thoughts like Patrick
Definitely. So
did.
many conflicts come, yeah, with it.
Yeah, yeah. So that was shown so well in the movie.
And in the
So that
upcoming, I'm sorry, go ahead, Alex.
no, you
I was going
go.
to say, and in the upcoming film that we're going to shoot in the spring, my character is still very, very devout. He's a staunch Catholic, and there's a lot of fun that is had with that in this new film as well.
Yeah. In the interviews, Ed talked about. So you're getting most of the returning cast members to come back and take up their roles.
Eddie, of course, is coming back. I'm coming back. Connie Britton, who played the eldest brother's wife, is also coming
Yep.
back. And there is another actress coming back named Sherry Alpert, who played my character's girlfriend. And I am not sure if there is anyone else making an appearance. That's who I'm aware of to this time.
Yeah, that's exciting. And April's right around the corner here. and you
Yeah,
guys will be getting started with that.
yeah.
So after Brothers McMullen, you did She's the One, also Ed's film, and then you also worked with him later on in Fitzgerald Christmas. Did you guys develop, a friendship? I'm assuming Brothers McMullen led to you being in She's the One, and then working together. That much you guys must have developed some sort of a relationship.
Indeed. From Brothers McMullen, we became very close. And in fact, he reminded me of my real life brother Joe when I met him. So it was a charmed association from the very beginning. We've had a wonderful friendship over many years, and working with him is such a joy, not only because he's such a gifted writer, but he's such a charming person and he's such an easy person to work with. If you talk to people who have been on his sets, either in crew or in cast, it is a universal response to him, in my experience, that people want to return and work with him again because it's such a positive and enjoyable time.
And that's the best compliment anyone can ask for in anything, whether you're doing movies or you're in sports and people want to, they want to join your team because you're a great leader or whatever job you're doing. When
Mhm.
people want to come back and keep working with you, I mean, that says a lot about your character. Because
Indeed.
obviously there's many athletes and actors out there that have immense talent, but their personalities are not they're not easy to work with. They're arrogant, they're rude, they're unkind. So yeah, they might have a great talent, but the rest of it is makes it difficult to want to work with that person or to enjoy their whatever they're doing.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. Eddie definitely does not have that problem. His personality is perfectly suited to make people feel like they want to return to work with him again. He's a wonderful he's a wonderful director, a wonderful writer, and a wonderful presence as a human being. And he has a charm about him that is very personal and also on screen. Also, I find that when he's on screen, when you see him on screen, there's an infectious positivity about that too. He he has a way of putting people at ease and making them feel good. And it translates through his performances as well. And I think that's why so many people enjoy him on screen also.
Yeah. So how long have you known about the sequel?
Gosh, it's been for it as a confirmed reality, because he and I had talked about a sequel to Brothers McMullen over the years. So I would say though, as a confirmed reality, I've been aware for maybe a few months, several
And
months perhaps. Yeah.
were you allowed to start talking about it right away, or is that just like more recently you've been
No,
allowed to?
I I don't I just made a personal choice not to talk about it before it was formally being talked about by Eddie, and there was some awareness that was confirmed that it would be happening. So I didn't need any discouragement from talking about it, because my first instinct was I'm not going to talk about this until we absolutely know it's going to happen, because sometimes the best laid plans with films end up being undone. So when it became contractual, that's when I felt comfortable telling people that this was coming up for us.
Right. Otherwise, people start putting out all kinds of crap, and half of it's not true. And the way media spreads, there's always fake trailers about movies and articles and all this stuff, and
Yeah.
and most of it's not true. Um, so I feel like sometimes that can get spurned off of comments. So it's probably best to, like you said, not talk about it until it's actually legit in the works. What's the process for filming? How long, like, do you guys have a projected how long it's going to take to film and get the, like, when are you shooting for a release date, or is that not even talked about yet?
Well, certainly I'm not aware of that. I'm sure they're thinking about it on some level, though at the same time, getting the film made and shot is job one now,
Yeah.
and or rather job two or three, because there's pre-production. There's so much that goes into this before we actually roll camera. And I would imagine that the release date will be determined, excuse me, after we are finished shooting, to not put the cart before the horse. And
Yeah.
we're going to be shooting probably for, I would think, somewhere between 4 and 7 weeks. I'm not certain of that, though.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess that all told, that's gonna probably be what the range is.
Yeah. Are you excited to bring that character back
Oh my
and step
goodness,
back
I'm
into that
I'm so
world?
delighted. I love him. I love Patrick McMullen. The project is so special. It's the beginning of our career, the first film, of course. And now we're coming back in the same roles, which both of us enjoy playing a great deal. Eddie's very good at the acerbic, sarcastic older brother. I love playing the open-hearted, devout Catholic, and we bounce off each other in such a delightful way for me that I'm very, very excited about getting back into those roles and enjoying the banter between us, especially.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, speaking of roles, I mean, you've done various roles: comedies, dramas, crime, action. You've played, like you said, a Catholic kid that's worried. You've played mobsters and cops and
Mhm.
all these different things. Is there a certain genre or type of character that you've enjoyed playing more than others throughout your career?
If the writing is strong, Alex, I'm in. I love it. And there are so many different people to play. It's such a wonderful art form. And in addition to all of the very serious things that go into being an actor, it's also a lot of fun, man, to play characters not only like Patrick McMullen, who's this very devout and sweet, positive person, but people who are negative and nasty and mean. They're even more fun to play sometimes because you can let all that out of you in a way that is healthy and in a way where no one's getting hurt. Things that you would say in your personal life that would be career ending or damaging to someone personally, you say in the mouth of a character, and you're doing a great job. So it's a real treat to be able to play the villains, and I have savored it on many occasions.
Yeah, I've had other few other actors that I've talked to have said similar things about enjoying playing bad guys. I think one of them, he said something about, he's like, I killed somebody with a candlestick once, and then I went home for dinner, and it was it was fine. You get to do these things that, like you said, are terrible, and if you do it well, you get congratulated because you portrayed that character so well. And
And
but
it's a
yeah, I
safe
mean,
way. It's a safe
yeah,
way to examine your dark elements, because we all have that as human beings. We have the light and the darkness as potentials in us all the time, everyone.
yeah,
And to be able to, in a healthy way, and at times even a therapeutic way, look into your dark potential and express it in a way that is effective and at the same time not dangerous to anyone.
yeah.
It's a magnificent gift.
Right. No, it is. It's very, and you get to do a lot of, I would imagine, obviously I'm not an actor. I'm just, you get to do a lot of neat things. I mean, you get to travel to different places, you get to work with so many different people. And if you do a wide variety of comedies, dramas, you get to work on so many different stories. I mean, if you work on something that's based on a true story, I imagine that's got to be a wonderful experience. You almost get to relive some historical event if you're doing
Sure.
a different type of a film. So there's so many different benefits, obviously, to that, and it's
Indeed.
cool.
Yeah, indeed.
Do you have a favorite project that you've worked on?
They've all been wonderful because they were all jobs. And as an actor, of course, that's the name of the game. getting them. And so I'm grateful for all of them. I will say, though, that shooting Brothers McMullen was like nothing else, and nothing else will ever be like that, because it was such a magically new scenario for me. It was my first feature film. We had no idea what was going to happen with it. I certainly didn't. Maybe others had more awareness professionally of what you could do with an independent film, but I had very little awareness, if any, of what happens with these things. And we're not getting paid. We're doing it for the sheer love of it, with this great script that Eddie wrote, and we're having a ball doing it. We're all enjoying not only the craft and the professional elements of it, but we're also enjoying the personal elements of it. Eddie and I became very close friends, and it was a love and joy-filled experience that then gives a number of us a career. There's nothing about it that I can look back on and say was anything but a blessing. This was and is such a magical time in my life. And the film is still beloved by many, and which makes making the sequel even more cherishable for me, because there are people who want to see more, and I'm looking forward to giving them something satisfying for them. So I would have to say that while I do love all of them, there's something that stands apart about the first, in because there's so many elements about that you cannot possibly recreate, and that other people, with no dishonor to other careers, that other people haven't experienced. I mean, we were literally making a film on a shoestring budget, stealing shots here and running here, and having to do it over the course of 9 months, because we're working around people's work schedules, and extraordinarily special in so many different ways. So that would be my answer to that.
And with sequels, when people, I mean, when you've got a movie you really enjoy, often you want the story to continue, but you want it to be done well too. And I feel like sometimes sequels are kind of rushed out, and other times you have a long gap. The first thing that comes to mind for me is Top Gun. I thought they did a great job with
Oh
Top
my
Gun
goodness.
Maverick.
That's one of the best sequels of all time.
Yeah,
And I think that's because it it draws enough on the previous one that the fan of Top Gun is gonna feel satisfied. And then it also expands into this other realm, this other life,
yeah,
this the present day of this. And it was artful and wonderful. I love that movie. So good.
yeah,
So
yeah. No, I
I,
agree.
I I will tell you that Eddie has done a wonderful job with our script, in that he's bringing enough of the charm from the original story into it, and at the same time giving you an expansive treatment of new story, and an influx of new character from the story that exists now.
Yeah, that's good. That's awesome, because that's the way it should be. Some sequels are way too much kind of copying the first one, and I feel like sometimes that makes it watered down and unenjoyable. Or when the some of them, when there is a large gap between the first and the second one, it's almost like the second one is just a complete remake. And so it's nice when the writers and the producers take the time to wait until they think they've got the perfect script, and let it marinate over years until it's right. I mean, there's no sense in rushing it out there and wasting. You've only got one opportunity to make a sequel. Once it's out there, it's out
Mhm.
there. So you want it to be good. So it's exciting that there's going to be one coming out here. um I look forward to, when it
Thank you,
comes out.
Alex.
Yeah. So kind of moving away from acting here as we kind of wrap up the episode, music, you're also a musician. I guess I should say. And have you always been a musician growing up? Did you play instruments, and were you interested in music at a young age, or did that come later in life?
I started writing songs when I was about 15, roughly. I think in my freshman year of high school, I started writing songs somewhere around there. And I wrote my first song because I had fallen in love with this beautiful girl when we went on vacation in Vail, Colorado. And I was writing poems about her, and my father and mom had bought me a guitar for my 12th birthday that I completely ignored for years, and then realized that I wanted to sing a song about her. So I taught myself how to play and then wrote my first song about this beautiful Puerto Rican girl who I was so attached to. And then from there forward, just continued writing songs throughout high school and then started recording professionally in my 20s. So that's
Did you
that's
have
the trajectory of that creative career.
did you have any like certain artists that you thought were kind of like an influence on you? I feel like a lot of
Oh, definitely.
musicians are
Everything I've
heavily
ever
influenced.
enjoyed has influenced me, I'm sure, in some way. You sometimes can recognize the influence, other times you're affected unconsciously, though everything that I've loved, I'm sure plays a part in how I produce music, create music, think about music. And I would say if I had to give some broad strokes of the biggest influences in my musical life, Elvis Presley, Bob Dylan, Leonard Cohen, The Who, The Doors, so many though that have had such a deep impact on me. Frank Sinatra as an interpreter of music, I still feel that there are very few people, if any, who can dramatize a song as well as Frank Sinatra. He sings a song in a way that tells a story that not all singers do. And not all singers have to do, in fairness. Sometimes
Right.
you just want to hear somebody blast, and that's great. Other times, though, when it's a song with a narrative, as Frank Sinatra often performed, you want to hear the moments emotionally. So he's one of the rare singers slash actors who performs a song like a dramatic performer. And for so many other reasons, he's at the top of the heap for me as well. Though that is something that leaps to mind about what I really love, in addition to just his voice being so magnetic, how he delivers the song, how he dramatizes the song is so perfect for me on so many different occasions. So he's definitely one of the great influences as well. And I've learned, though, from so many different songwriters, Gordon Lightfoot, and so many different singers, Nina Simone, Etta James. You listen to these people, and sometimes you consciously find a way to work it into your technique, and other times it's unconscious, where Nina Simone will inform a performance I give, but I'm not aware of how she did it, but I know she's there somehow. It's just so many different people that the Lord has given us to help us guide ourselves and be guided along our creative path, and I'm so grateful for all of them.
Yeah. No, everyone you named, wonderful artists that all have a different talent for delivering their music. And I mean, we're so lucky to have those people to listen to as kind of an escape from reality, or
Mm.
sometimes you're having a bad day and you just put your favorite music on, everything feels all right. And when there's so many wonderful
I'm so
artists
happy
out
you
there.
have that experience. I hope that that's the experience for many people. I can't speak for everybody, though. I will say that there is something universal about music in what you just highlighted, which is the effect that it can at least have on someone's spirit by just sitting and listening to a favorite song or album.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I feel, and I love music. I know there's some people that they're not big music people. They like silence, and if that's the way you want to roll, that's great. But I like music, and I know there's certain artists or certain songs. If I'm having a bad day, that they make me feel good. They're kind of calming music. Or there's obviously songs to get you amped up if you're in sports or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
I'm a big Gordon Lightfoot fan. Bob Dylan's great. I love ABBA, and Jim Croce, and then I can dive into metal too. So I'm all over
Yeah,
the board.
yeah.
And it's good to have a variety of music, I think,
Sure.
happy
And
going
classical
down.
music as well, for
Oh,
me,
yes, yes.
is very important. There are
Yeah,
numerous different composers that I have gravitated to over the years, and that's a completely different gift because it affects you in such a different way. All
yeah.
great music is in one category for me. And then we have these wonderful specificities of experience. As you say, sometimes you want heavy metal, sometimes you want soft rock, sometimes you want 80s pop hits, sometimes you want Mozart's Don Giovanni, and you can have it. Because, as I
Yep.
said before, the Lord's given us all these wonderful gifts through these fabulous people who create. And I'm so blessed to have so much greatness in my life through the work of others.
Yeah, classical music's great. I love film scores and
Sure.
TV film scores, and that kind of all goes together. But lastly, are you still, putting out music? Are you working on anything
Yeah.
currently, writing? And
Yeah, there are actually a few albums that are finished, in fact, that I haven't released yet, and I will be releasing them going forward. I have written probably over 100 songs, and I've never counted it, though there are many that have not made it into a recording studio as of yet, though many have. And there are 3 albums that I've released. One is an EP, and then 3 full-length albums, one EP, and then numerous singles. And as I say, there are 3 albums waiting to be released that I'm going to consider scheduling when it feels like the time is right to get that out there. So there's a lot to
yeah,
come, in other words.
awesome. Something to look forward to here. Another Brothers McMullen sequel, more music. So stuff for people to look out for. But Mike, I appreciate you coming on the podcast and kind of sharing some of your experiences and what's coming forward. It was a good time.
Oh, well, it's been wonderful talking to you, Alex. You're a good man, and I appreciate your time as well. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Please stay tuned for more episodes soon.